everybody.
Welcome, people of the world. We are back for welcome to probably the fifth take. I'm not sure how many times we tried to do this or not. I don't know, but we are here again, and it is mental warfare and the release valve, and we want to talk about our issues. We want to talk about our problems because everyone has them, right? And that's the warfare of it all, right? And we're all just trying to get through our days most of the time, which is mediocre, in my opinion. And we all need that release valve. I am your co-host, Kyle Spain, and the gentleman talking to me will reveal himself, please.
Sean Hanlon of the Release Valve, a collaboration and partnership with two podcasts, up-and-coming podcasts with similar mindsets, similar focuses, and similar goals. All of us are going through some sort of a mental warfare in some way, shape, or form, dealing with something, right? And like you said, we could all use just that little bit of a release, whatever that looks like. This is what it looks like for us. We want to come on here and share the things that we have going on and how we feel about it, and bring other people on to come and talk about their experiences and talk about how they feel about it, in hopes to shed light to the fact that we all are going through things, mental warfares, and are stressed out and overwhelmed in some way. And we just want to get some things off our chest, open up a little bit, connect, bring people together.
Yeah, the warfare during the week, especially the Mondays. Saying we talked about the Mondays,
yes.
And how and then everyone is loving the Monday, right? And you can just tell on everyone's vibe. And then we go through the week, and then everyone excited come the weekend, especially Friday. They gotta try it, right? And so this is why we're here.
That Wednesday, right? You hit that hump day, and everybody's like, "Yeah, hump day, halfway there." Right? Stay strong.
Got a couple more days. Got a couple more days. Yeah, we talked about how when you greet people, right? When you go when you go into the store or something, right? And normally, the general thing to do is to ask them, hey, how are you doing, right? And what's the normal answer? For me, it's rarely I rarely get, man, I'm having a great day, or I'm like, man, like life is great. Versus, like, especially work being a trainer at the Y, right? Like all the people that you meet, and
you get a lot of people coming in and out.
Exactly. So you get a really good tally, a really good idea of people's mood, people's vibes, and people will like just throw their hands up. You know what I'm saying? Like when they're walking by or when they're walking out, when you're telling them like, oh, have a good day. Some people won't even say anything. You got people. You got people. I mean, the same thing coming in. You got people coming in, and they just kind of walk by and just like won't even acknowledge you. And then you got the other people on the other hand that are like, that actually need that.
They look forward to it.
Right, exactly. That interaction.
Yeah.
They want.
Their day doesn't start until they hit the gym.
Exactly. And then others are like, man, mad that they're in the gym. A lot of them are. A lot of them are mad that they have to be there, and so it's an interesting balance.
I wonder how some of those people are, those negative Nancys that are like that on the way in, how they are on the way out.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that'd be interesting. Yeah. That's actually really interesting.
Did they release some of those demons? Are they walking out saying, what, I'm glad I did that.
Yeah.
Or do you still have those people that are walking out and be like, man, I still fucking hate this.
Yeah. I think that you're getting both. Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. 100%, because just from the experience that I've had, just talking to people, and they're just like, "Oh, have a good workout."
To your point, there's not too many people that you come across that are just in a good mood, happy no matter what the situation is. Hey, how's it going today? I'm good, my man. How you doing? You almost like look at them like,
Right, right,
the
right.
fuck? You must have
Right,
won the
exactly.
lottery or got laid
Yeah.
last night or something, man. Because
sure.
nobody just
For
walks
sure.
around in good mood like that.
Yeah,
But
exactly. It's rare.
I envy those people, man, because a lot of times I'll allow the things that are going on around me to affect my mood. And that's something that I really want to work on with myself, part of my growing process, growing process, right? Is,
Right.
trying to find those different things that I don't like about myself. And one of those things, not necessarily that I don't like about myself, but things that I want to better about myself.
Yes.
And one of those things is definitely not allowing exterior variables come into my equation.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Well said, well said. Because, and I think it's it just takes a lot of awareness, right? And I think that if we continue to be aware of that, then I feel like we have a better chance as a unit. You know what I'm saying? Because we're all connected. You know, as a one, we're all one piece of the puzzle that's connected to this world. And so, I mean, that's just that much closer to where we can get to, reaching that inner peace and being happiness. Because a lot of us are going through our days every day, saying living this life that essentially that we don't want to live, right? I mean, if you can honestly say that you're happy in your heart, then I mean, like, that's so be it, you know what I'm saying? But if not, then there's something that's distracting us or preventing us from getting there, because I know I haven't reached the end goal yet, you know what I'm saying? I'm not there yet, you know what I'm saying? That's why we're here.
I
You know
hope I
what I'm
never
saying?
do.
Right. Hey, very,
know?
very well. I agree with that. I agree with that. But I feel like I'm still in the very beginning stages. You know what I'm saying? Like I
Yeah.
feel like I need to feel better about what I'm doing, and then I mean I know where we're going. You know what I'm saying? This is why we started this again, right?
Yeah.
Because it's about connecting, building each other up, learning other people's stories, connecting. Trying to figure it out, right? Because
Right.
like, I mean, yeah, some have made it, but a lot of us are in the trenches. A lot of us are can't figure it out. A lot of us are like in this cycle that we can't break.
Too busy
And
trying to
so,
survive, as
exactly,
opposed to getting ahead and setting ourselves up for success, or even setting ourselves up to be okay when we fail. Because a lot of
yeah,
us right now, we're in a position to where if we fail, man, that's it. It's curtains.
right, right, for sure.
Show's over. So
And then we're trying to do that while having kids. I mean, if you throw kids in the equation, and it's this cycle of like trying to survive and trying to care for your children, while trying to care for yourself, or trying to figure yourself out, because it's mental warfare, right? We're trying to battle our own thoughts and our own feelings, our own emotions, while having to deal with a little one's emotions and cares and needs and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
a lot of the time we are distracted and we don't get enough time to release, enough time to heal, to reflect, to vent, right? And so, a lot of us are stuck in our own little bubble. We're stuck in our own little world, and we're shielded off from the rest of the people. Like feeling we're in our emotions, we're in our feelings, and it's kept to ourselves. We don't have that release valve, and then things get picked up, they build up, and then we're checking it out each other out in the world. That's why it's chaos.
exactly, man. And to your point, not even just with kids, but just adding any other person to your equation, right? Whether if you're in a relationship with someone, you still gotta have that be a part of the balancing act of life.
Right.
And then on top of that, having kids that are so blissfully unaware of all the things
Right.
that we're going through,
Right.
and they can't even comprehend or even think about the type of things that we have going on. They don't look at the world like that. So it's hard to, how do you explain or not explain, how do you dance around, it's not even a balancing act, right? It's more of a juggling act. How do you keep the balls moving? How do you keep them going? Or the pins, whatever it is. How do you keep it all going and
Yeah.
still looking good and feeling good
Right.
about yourself too? It's
Right.
hard, man. It really is.
That's the key, though, right? The key is self. Otherwise, the way I see it is, if you There's a quote, if you can't be your best self, you're not going to be your best self to others, right? And so, for that is, that's all energy stuff too. That's something to be aware of. How is your vibe? And say, and then being aware of other people's vibes too. Like you said, not letting those external variables affect, your peace, your bubble. Say in your circle. And that can be anything. That could be people, work things or finances, or whatever the case may be. Whatever it is that's disturbing your peace, or whatever the struggle is, whatever that you can't release, whatever you're trying to, whatever story you're trying to tell. So that's again, the hopes of this platform, of this podcast, of these podcasts, to hear people's story, to hear what's going on, to have perspective. Because a lot of us, like we talked about, are going through things, and we feel like we're alone, in the things that we're going through. When in reality, a lot of us are going through the same things. And like how therapeutic, when you're kicking it with your homies, right, and you're talking about something whatever it is that stressed you out. And for some reason, that other person was going through the same thing. You guys start laughing about it, right? You just start laughing it off, and then it's funny. Then at that point, right? So, right, you start laughing about it, and then at that point, you can just laugh it off. And it was like, dang, like you was going through that too, you know what I'm saying? Or just seeing somebody that's going through it, it's just like, dang, like I thought I was the only one, and that's usually the case.
When you're able to talk about it, even if it's not with a friend, or a spouse or a relative or something like that, if you could talk to, we've talked about it before, if you could talk to like a therapist or psychiatrist or just anybody,
right,
even keeping a journal and stuff like that, if you're able to just release it, a lot of times that's all you really needed, because you keep it all in, you let it all build up, and you only have that one perspective of it, and that's what's going on inside your mind, and your mind can fuck with you in so many ways, man.
Oh my goodness!
Your mind is not your friend,
Exactly, and that's where the battle starts, right?
Exactly, that's the mental warfare, right?
You're constantly battling those emotions, those thoughts, especially when people cross us, right? And then when that shit happens, it's like, all right, riled up, boiled up, ready to go. You know what I'm saying? And that's essentially the world that we live in, and that's the world that we have to live in, right? Because it's a jungle out there. We're all in survival mode, trying to survive, man. I mean, I'm quick to react. You know what I'm saying? Somebody crossed me for feeling disrespected. You know what I'm saying? Like I've allowed them to affect my peace. But now coming to a realization now, like everyone is going through something, and that's just something that they're dealing with. So something. We're all dealing with something, and we're all in this situation because of our past experiences and trauma, of having to be in this world of survival.
Past experiences, that's huge, right? Especially if you go through some detrimental things at a young age, and if you're not taught how to deal with it or how to unleash it or release it, right? You could spend the rest of your life going through other things based off of the wrong way that you learned as a kid, and it can ruin so many other things for you.
Exactly.
Because I'm speaking from experience. That's how it was with me. I wasn't, to no fault of my parents or teachers or older sibling or anything like that. I wasn't taught how to deal with certain things. And I had to come up with things on my own, or seeing how other people did it and try to apply it to myself. And like we talked about before, especially in the area that we grew up, there was a lot of egos, a lot of for lack of a better term, just ego, really, more than anything. A lot of people had a lot to prove,
right?
And if you didn't respond a certain way, your boys or your people would let you know, right? They would shit on you or talk shit or whatever, like, oh, you a bitch, you didn't handle that right, or whatever the fuck. Like, you had to be down. You had to be down for the set. You had to be down for the homies. You had to be down for the block. There were so many things you had to be down for, man. And if you didn't respond the right way, they would let you have it. They would let you know. So, man, again, if you're not taught how to deal with things, and we talk about that before too, with to no fault of our parents, right? I heard this great quote before. No one's at fault, but everyone's responsible.
Yeah, I like that.
And you can apply that to so many different things.
Exactly. I love that. I love that because a lot of the time we're not taking responsibility for our actions, right? Or for
We're trying to point fingers and blame.
Exactly.
Right.
It's
got to be somebody at fault, right? Somebody's got to be at fault.
Somebody has to be at fault, and
it doesn't have to be that way.
Right, right. And then that's just the anchor, though. That's the hindering part, right? That's one of the factors that's preventing us from being our greatest selves, is the fact that we don't have that awareness. We're not taking responsibility. You know, we're not accountable for our actions. You know, when they happen, we're blaming somebody else, right? It's their fault when my life is fucked up, right? And so that's the problem. And so that's why this, again, you know, these podcasts is for, you know, people to hopefully, you know, get their story out. You know, give us the topics. You know, we want to hear about it. What do we need to talk about? What do we need? What story do we need to get out? You know, what perspective do we need? You know, like kids, like finances, relationships, man, family relationships, girlfriends, boyfriends, husbands, marriages, man. You know, there's just so many things that we're going through, and a lot of it goes unnoticed. It doesn't get talked about, and you know that's why we're seeing so many kids shooting schools up, and
so many mental illness.
Right, it's mental illnesses. We're committing suicide. We're on drugs, prescription drugs, and then those drugs are creating like depressive thoughts. Like how are you, or not, suicidal thoughts or whatever the crazy shit is. I don't even know. It's ridiculous. I'm taking an antidepressant and yet I'm having suicidal thoughts. I mean, I don't know how those two go together, right? And so for me, that's a problem. Like, and then you got people dealing with that, right? And so it's crazy, you know what I'm saying? This all starts with all the thoughts that are going in your mind. I'm not good enough, you know what I'm saying? The insecurities, the lack of confidence, you know, and like the struggles and feeling misunderstood. Because if you feel misunderstood enough, you're gonna feel lonely, right? It's like, damn, like nobody knows what I'm going through, right? Nobody understands, right? Wow. And then this is happening, and then people are losing close friends, close families, you know, like it's
and that's usually when you start acting in negative ways to get some sort of attention brought to you in some way, right? And then, but the problem with that is a lot of people will start identifying themselves based off of that negative attention. And then they sink into that, you know, that's who I am now. You know, I am that person, you know, I get angry over this, and, you know, I get that, that's what I do. That's how you guys look at me, so, you know, if the shoe fits, I might as well wear it.
Yes.
And again, you know, that comes back to not having that self-awareness and taking responsibility for yourself. You want to sit back and blame whoever for whatever reason. You know, you didn't get handed the golden ticket when you were a kid. Nothing was spoon-fed to you out of that, you know, anything like that. And people get bitter because of that. Instead of just taking responsibility for yourself and doing taking the necessary steps that you need to take for yourself to get better and do things for yourself. In spite of anybody else that wasn't there for you or whatever the case is.
Right. And you said something about spoon-fed, though. I want to touch back on that because you know what I was thinking about. And I feel like, I mean, because everyone's going through it, right? Even the rich kids. I feel like rich kids are at risk as well in a different way. And this is why. You know, when you're stuck in that bubble, you know, I've seen it, and you're, especially when the kids are homeschooled, right, and they're shielded off from the world, they don't know any better. When the kids have everything that they want, they don't have any type of purpose or fulfillment, right? They don't have to work for nothing, and that's literally the core of ourselves, right? The core. I mean, if we don't have any type of purpose, fulfillment. You know what I'm saying, loving what we do or fitting in or whatever the case may be, that's that outcast feeling that most of us go through, And then what happens? A lot of the rich kids, get that money, and then they ended up, committing suicide and doing shit like that. You know what I'm saying? And so just because of the same type of shit, not being able to cope with things, especially like not being able to have. I mean, your childhood is so prominent, it's so important, like for our development into adulthood. Otherwise, what I'm saying, we're jacked.
What is it? They say the first 7 years of your life are the most important, because that's when all that computing and learning and figuring things out, and how the world works and stuff
Right.
like that. Maybe not how the world works, but to the best of your understanding.
Right,
I'm pretty
to the
sure it's
best
like
of your understanding,
the
because
first
there's-
7 years of your life is the most crucial years of instilling the most important things.
Yeah.
You could do the homeschooling thing, because like my daughter's homeschooled, but it's important to have that type of balance.
Absolutely.
And
See, I
we,
love
we
this. This is the
homeschool
whole.
the stepdad too. I mean, my
love that.
stepson. But they have a balance. Like my wife is very big on making sure that like she started her own group, co-op group of her friends that have kids around the same age, and they all get together and they do like outdoor activities and they do learning
See,
in that type of
it's
aspect.
that connection. It's that connection, right?
Exactly, and they all share curriculum,
Absolutely.
works and stuff like that. They all do all that type of stuff together. But again, it's important to have that balance, because there were plenty of kids that I knew over the years that were homeschooled that you didn't see them coming out and doing anything, and they were awkward.
Yeah.
They were a little
Right.
weird. They were a little socially awkward. Didn't really know how to go about dealing with other people. And
Right.
it's so important, man. And I always said, I moved to California when I was 8 years old. I got jumped for the first time when I was 8 years old, and there was a lot of things. There was a lot of culture shock when I moved out there, right? Because where I grew up in Massachusetts, it was this small little town. There was one black kid in the neighborhood. There wasn't a lot of diversity or anything like that. So obviously, where I moved to in California, where you and I grew up, I mean, the white people were the minority, right? And it was hard at first, and hard going through a lot of things. But looking back on it now, I think that was probably the best thing that could have happened to me, was going to a place like that and just getting thrown in there and learning shit the hard way. Because I learned so many things in my life that when I came back out here now and I would talk about some things with people, they would be kind of blown away by all, a lot of the things that happened. It was like, man, that was just how life was out there, type of thing. You get that perspective, though. You get that different perspective of how things are for people, depending on where they grew up and the experiences they had at young ages.
Yeah.
And you can tell a lot about people when you find out some of the things that they either went through or didn't go through at a young age. And it kind of makes sense how they are nowadays, right? When
Yeah.
as adults,
Yeah.
like, okay, I start to see that. Like, you can kind of tell
Right.
when somebody has never moved out of their town and they've grown up in this same little area the entire time. You know what I mean? You can tell when they're an only child. There's a lot of things that you can tell
Right.
about that type of
Right.
stuff.
Right.
So again, you can't control a lot of the aspects around you, and what comes at you, especially at a young age. But I think that's the most important part, as parents, right? Is being there for those kids to try to help guide them the best way we can to
But
keep
learning
them.
how. But I mean, that is the number one problem in this world, is the ability to communicate, right? So if we're not able to communicate at a young age, how are we able to communicate our feelings? How are we able
That's
to express ourselves?
exactly what I was going to say.
Right.
We got to show them how to communicate.
Right.
Because that's the reason why a lot of us nowadays don't really know how to communicate and aren't
Right. I
able
mean-
to open up about our feelings, because we didn't
Yeah.
really go through that with our parents. Our parents was kind of that working generation where they had to go and work and get the job done because they had to take care of us or they had to provide for us. There wasn't a lot of time sitting down, opening up and talking about our feelings in that sense. Our parents weren't opening up and talking about their feelings.
I mean, given my situation, my parents, hard of hearing and being deaf, and them just working, right? There was never any guidance or that type of communication in terms of how to be a man, or how to act, how to be polite. You know what I'm saying? And the most in the general sense. You know what I'm saying? Because we were already living a different life. My parents were, right? And so, for me and my brother and my sister, you know what I'm saying, the learning how to communicate was we were like behind the curve in that sense.
Sure,
So
yeah, yeah. See, and that's another thing that a lot of people wouldn't know about. I feel like,
right.
you're the only person that I know that had that situation. And I know quite a few people on both sides of the country. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's a different
Unique
aspect of life
situations.
where, yeah, exactly. It's a unique situation that not a lot of people would take into consideration that that's something that somebody went through.
Right.
And again, nobody's at fault,
Right.
but you had to take responsibility.
Right.
Your parents weren't at fault because they were dealing with what they had, right? They got dealt the cards that they got dealt. You guys had to learn and figure things out the way that you did, right?
Exactly.
So, like you said, being behind the curve, there could have been quite a few situations that you ran into in life that you didn't handle the same way that somebody else your same
Exactly.
age would handle because you weren't taught that, And again,
Exactly.
that's not your parents' fault. It's
Excuse me.
it's just another aspect of life that
Right.
has to be
I
taken
mean,
into consideration
it's the cycle that
when
we're
dealing
in.
with people.
It's the cycle that we're in. Our parents went through it. We're having to grow up. Living the same type of life of not being able to communicate and express our feelings. And we go to school, and we deal with the same type of issues. We do. I mean, there's so many people in the world, so many different scenarios and situations, and a lot of us are getting bullied, and that's trauma. And then you have to deal with that, and then you're not getting taught how to deal with that, and then you having to deal with that, and then you learn you gotta fight back. And then you learn that's just like your defense mechanism. That's just what I do and what I have to do because this is what's been done, right? And
Yeah,
so, right,
exactly.
and so,
That's survival
that,
mode.
exactly. And we're not taught how to deal with that. There's love lost in the world, man. And so, uh, again, that's why we're here, man. We want to hear your story. I'm saying everyone, man. Life is a movie. Everyone, I mean, with this session, I mean, look at what we're watching. I mean, I feel like a lot of the things that go on on TV, of course, a lot of it's fictional, but there's thought behind it. You know what I'm saying?
There's
There's some
something that
truth
could be
behind a
taken
lot
away
of it.
from it.
Absolutely.
There's something that could be taken away from a lot of those type of things. And the good shows or movies and stuff like that are the ones that we can relate to, right? There's something about it. There's some sort of aspect to it that is relatable, and that's why we're drawn to it.
Exactly, right. We're so emotionally connected to movies, and that's for a reason. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like that's what I'm saying. We're all connected. We're all spiritually connected in a different way, bro. Like we all have a piece of this puzzle that we need to claim, and we're dysfunctionally connected. We're all separated.
Well,
Segregated in our own way.
that's the thing, man. We grew up with the experiences that we had. I grew up with my experiences. You grew up with your experiences, and that led to us being in the places that we are now. But ultimately, it led to us getting to a point in our lives where we weren't liking how we were thinking and feeling and going about things because of the experiences that we had beforehand. And we again just want to bring light to that. We want to talk about those type of things. We want to kind of start our own healing process by talking
Yeah,
about these type of things.
absolutely.
And the more we talk about these type of things, the more that we realize that other people are
That we're all
going through things
connected.
too.
Exactly. The
And
more
we want
connected
those
we
people
can
to
be.
come on and talk about it and get other people to realize that they're not alone. And there's a billion people in the world that are going through something similar or worse or better or whatever. They're going through something, and we just want to bring everybody together and release some of that built up pressure that everybody's got going on because of
Yep.
those mental warfares.
Try to rebuild some trust somewhere and being somewhat vulnerable and getting out our story. Let's connect. Comment below. Let us know. Like, give us some topics to talk about. Right. Let's connect. Let's branch out. Let's empower one another. Let's encourage one another. Let's try and rebuild.
Come together, build each other up, build each other stronger, and that's how we do it, is by coming together.
Yes, indeed. Well, thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Mental Warfare and the Release Valve. Go ahead and hit that like button. Click that subscribe button. Let us know what you think. How did we do? What could we do better? This is, again, a platform for us to try and reach out to the world. We want to know your story. We want to listen. We want to learn. So,
and we want to do that in the best way that we possibly can. So if there's something that you guys see that you want to see a little bit better, you want us to tweak a little bit, let us know. We're all open ears, open eyes. We want this to be a platform for everybody, not just for us.
Thank you for listening, world. We'll see you next time.
Stay tuned. Bye, everybody.